Bass Drop Keys, your friendly neighborhood Negro, and a rookie mycologist. In today's video, we're going to continue the Spore Boomr kit series. So if you're watching this video and you decide to get something from the website, use the code Bass Drop Keys. That will give you a 10% discount on any order at norspore.com. In the last video in this series, I covered the harvest for the Spore grow. The first flush happened on March the 24th and on March the 25th. In the last video, you saw me do the harvest. I showed you how I dry my mushrooms. I showed you how to clone a mushroom, and we covered the final dry weight of our dried mushrooms. In today's video, I'm gonna cover the second flush. Let's do it. All right, guys, so it's 6 days later, March the 31st, and the bin that you're looking at right now is the one with the Spore substrate in it. What I'm doing is I'm rehydrating the cake so we can start our second flush. I didn't do it immediately after the harvest because I sprayed it with my Flairosol bottle and I wanted to see if that was going to give me any more mushrooms. As you can see, it didn't. So this is the day that we're going to rehydrate the cake. All I'm doing is I'm taking some tap water, and you can see how I'm filling it up from the edges. Once I have the bin more than halfway full, I took a liner, because a liner will actually cover the entire cake, put it on top, and I started putting water in the liner basically as a weight to hold the cake down. We want the entire cake to be submerged in water, so you're going to need something that's heavier to hold it down because it will float. Now, before I let them soak for 6 to 10 hours, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this stay here for 24 hours. I'll see you guys then. All right, so it's 24 hours later, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the water out of the liner and out of the bin, and there you go. That's how easy it is to rehydrate your cake. Now, if I was a regular content creator, I would cut the scene right here and we will go on to the next thing that's in the video. But I'm not a regular creator. You guys know I show you everything that happens all the time. So let me show you the mistakes that I made so that way you don't do it too. So as you just saw, I poured the water out of the liner and out of the Max Shield bin. This is the part that you didn't see. So I was trying to get more water out of the Max Shield bin, trying to make sure that I didn't mess up the cake, and look what happened. Man. So the good news is I was able to pick pieces back up and put it back in the bin. At this point, I really thought that I messed up, but there's nothing that I could do, so I just picked the pieces back up and put it back in the bin. But let me tell you this, as I said previously, this is the bin with the Spore substrate. I actually did this one second. With the bin with the CVG in it, you can see it right here. I actually did this one first. I did the same thing as far as putting water inside the Max Shield bin until it's over halfway full. But what I did is I took one of the 12 quart shoe boxes and tried to hold it down like this, and you can see that the cake actually started tearing up and breaking apart. And so that's when I got the idea for using a liner, because it would cover the whole cake. But not only that, 24 hours later, whenever I poured this one out, look at what happened right here. Man. So whenever I was doing it with the Spore substrate, whenever I was doing that bin, I was trying not to do the same thing that I did the first time. Now, there's absolutely no reason why I needed to show you that in the video other than just be aware that this can happen, learn from my mistake, don't make the same mistake that I did. Now we can move to the next part of the video. All right, guys, so it's 4 days later, April the 5th, and you can see that mushrooms have already started growing on the substrate. This first one is the CVG substrate. Now I want you guys to know that after I rehydrated the cakes, I put them back in the tent and they've been in darkness ever since. Once I start seeing some nice pins forming like this right here, that's when I start using my light again, and I'm only using my light for 6 hours a day. You don't need very much wattage for mushrooms. You really don't need light at all, but it does help with giving the mushrooms some color and helping them know which way they're supposed to grow. But the light that I'm only using 65 watts, so you don't need that much light. Now what we're looking at is the Spore substrate bin. You can see that we're having some fantastic growth in the North Spore bin as well. You can also see not just in the North Spore bin, but the CVG bin as well, where I had to pick up the substrate and put it back in. But as you can see, mushrooms are still growing everywhere, so I'm very happy with what's going on right now. And like I said, every day going forward, they're getting 6 hours of light every day. I'm inside a tent, and so they're not getting any light from a window or anything like that. You can actually just do that, but this is inside of a tent, so I'm using a light. All right, so the footage that you're looking at right now is from today, April the 8th, and I was supposed to do the harvest for these mushrooms yesterday, but on one of my other channels, I had a video due with one of my sponsors, so the harvest had to wait till today. As you can see, a lot of the mushrooms have already sporulated. That's that dark purple color that you're seeing everywhere. Those are spores. But as you can see, we have a fuller flush than we had with the first one. Also, these mushrooms are a lot easier to harvest. I'm basically just grabbing handfuls at the base and just pulling them off, and it's coming straight off super easy. Also, I think it will be helpful to mention that this is the CVG substrate bin. If you recall from the first flush, the North Spore bin outperformed the CVG bin. We'll have to see what happens with this flush. But at any rate, I have all the mushrooms harvested. Check them out. Don't they look beautiful? Now it's time for me to dry them. And I'm going to dry the mushrooms the same way that I did the last time. The only difference is there's a lot more mushrooms this time. So with the mushrooms that I got from the CVG bin, I filled up my Presto. So I had to grab my other dehydrator and I filled up the bottom rack as well. So with the CVG bin, I filled up the Presto and the bottom rack of my other dehydrator. All right, so now it's time for me to harvest the bin with the North Spore substrate in it. This is it right here. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but once again, the mushrooms with the North Spore substrate are more robust than the ones that was with the CVG. They're bigger, the stems are thicker, they're fuller. Just the quality of the mushrooms is better with the North Spore substrate. I said it in the last video, but I'll say it again. I believe that the mushrooms are getting nutrients from this North Spore substrate that they're not getting with my CVG. But at any rate, we got the North Spore bin harvested. Take a look at the mushrooms. Now, one thing that you guys may be noticing is this time I didn't cut the bottom of it where the substrate is. I did not cut it with the scissors. I want to thank some of you guys who've been giving me some recommendations down in the comment section. I had a couple people tell me not to worry about cutting off the bottom part where the substrate is. Just go ahead and dehydrate it with a little bit of substrate on there. And as soon as the mushrooms are dehydrated, that little substrate comes right off. And it's true. So I appreciate you guys who gave me that recommendation in the comment section. That is something that helped me get through this process a lot quicker. So I appreciate it. But at any rate, with the rest of these mushrooms, I was able to fill up the other dehydrator. As you guys know, sometimes you got to cut off the caps to get it to fit, but that's just part of the deal, no big issue. Now for the time and temperature for the dehydrators, lately I've been doing it at 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 hours. That's been working great with the Presto. Because the way this other dehydrator is made, I usually do this one at 158 Fahrenheit, and sometimes I still have to do it for an additional hour or two, sometimes depending on how many racks I'm using. The rack that's on the very top usually has to go another hour or so. So for anybody who's thinking about buying one of these dehydrators, I would recommend you go with the Presto. I'll put the link in the description for you. Well, all right. The mushrooms are dry now and it's time for me to weigh them up. As you're watching this time lapse of me weigh up everything, let me go ahead and just give you the final figures. So for the first flush, with the CVG, we ended up with 43.2 grams of dried mushrooms. With the North Spore bin, we ended up with 54.7 grams of dried mushrooms. For the second flush, with the CVG, that ended up being 65 grams of dried mushrooms, which is over a 20-gram improvement. Basically almost 22 grams we got more this time around. With the North Spore substrate, we ended up with 75 grams for the second flush. which once again is almost 22 grams better than we got with the first flush. So once again, the North Spore bin outperformed the CVG bin, but they both got more mushrooms this time around. The total for the first flush was 97.9 grams, or just say 98 grams. The total for the second flush is 140 grams of dried mushrooms. Hell yeah. That is 5 ounces of dried mushrooms. That's over a quarter pound. So you guys can see now that all that hard work and determination is starting to pay off in a big way now. And we're not finished with these cakes yet. So I ended up with 42 more grams with the second flush than I did with the first flush. So I'm super happy with the results. Now in this video, you saw me after I got finished with the harvest, you saw me spray the cakes with the Flaresol bottle and I put them back in my tent. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give it 4 or 5 days, see if anything happens, see if any more mushrooms grow. If they do, I'll pick those off, and then I'm going to rehydrate it just like I did before, 24 hours, and I'm going to try to get a nice third flush off of this. Now before I get out of here, you guys have probably noticed the sweet shirt that I'm wearing. This is the Rookie All Over shirt. If you want to support me and the channel, come over to the merch website, therookiemycologist.com. I have some great shirt designs, mugs, hoodies, slides, stickers, and I'm adding new stuff all the time. Also, before I get up out of here, obviously you guys know that my channel was deleted and that sucks. If you're interested in seeing all of my past mycology videos and all of my future mycology videos, I'm still making videos. Come over to my website. If you're one of the thousands of people who said that they started growing because of me, or I helped you out in some way as far as mycology, come over to my website, bassdropkeys.tv. Support your boy. I still am making mycology videos, so come over and check it out, bassdropkeys.tv. I really appreciate all of you. And until I see you guys the next time, I'm out, guys. Much love.